Good day, everyone.
I am Jestany Dawan.
I am Jillian Amilagan,
and Christine Lagasi,
and we're here to discuss to you on how to compute variance for group data using Excel.
But before we're going to the computation, let us define what is variance. So when we say variance, it is the average of the squared differences from the mean. So to figure out the variance, first, calculate the difference between each point and the mean. Then square and average the results. Because of this squaring, the variance is no longer in the same unit of measurement as the original data. So in the computation, we'll be using Excel, and here is the formula for variance. So variance is equal to the quotient of the summation of the product of the frequency and the squared of the difference of the class mark and the mean with the difference of total number of frequency and 1. Where x is the class midpoint or the class mark and x bar is the sample mean and n is equal to the summation of the frequency. As we can see in the table, we have now the scores, the lower class limit and the upper class limit. And these scores have an interval of 12. And we also have the given frequency here, this.
Now, let's find the variance of this frequency distribution. So again, this is the formula for the variance. So we need the sample mean. So the formula for the mean is this. Mean is equal to the quotient of the summation of the product of the frequency and class mark with the total number of frequency or the end. So we need the class mark. So to find the class mark or x, we're just going to add the lower class limit and the upper class limit and divide by 2. So that is equal to the lower class limit, which is 106, added to the upper class limit, which is 117, and divide it by 2. So we get 111.5 as our class mark. But because we are using Excel, we just simply drag 111.5 going down to get the preceding class mark.
Now, we're going to find the product of the frequency and the class mark. So we multiply 6 as our first frequency to 111.5, which is the first class mark. So we get 669. Again, we just drag it down and the preceding answers are provided. Now, we need to add this to find the sum of the product of the frequency and the class mark. So the summation of this is equal to 8,802.
So in the formula, we also need the n, which is the summation of the frequency. So just add the frequency that is equal to 60. So substitute this to the formula. So we have the summation of the product of the frequency and the class mark, which is 8,802, divide by our total frequency, which is 60. So we get the sample mean, which is equal to 146.7. But we need to place the mean on the table in order to proceed on the next step.
Now, let us find the difference between the class mark and the mean. So, the class mark, which is 111.5, subtract to our mean, which is 146.7, we get negative 35.2. So, we need again to drag it down to get the other value of the difference between the class mark and the mean.
Now, next in the formula, we need to square the difference of the class mark and the mean. So just multiply negative 35.2 by itself. So negative 35.2 times negative 35.2, we get 1,239.04. So do it the same with the preceding numbers, but we just need to drag it down because we are using Excel.
Next thing that we're going to do is to multiply this by the frequency. So meaning that is 1,239.04 times 6, that will give us the product of 7,434.24. But because we're using Excel, We just drag it down to get again the preceding answers.
Now in the formula, we need the summation of this. So the sum of all this, we get 26,745.6. Now, we're ready to solve for the variance. So, let us substitute this to the formula. So we have now the summation of this, divide it by our total frequency, which is 60 minus 1, we get 444.76.
Okay, that ends our discussion. We hope you learned something from the demonstration we've done. Thank you and God bless.